a wish, count to 3. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure MAGA.
We are young and we are free. Here we go. No, we're never gonna stop. We'll give it all that we got. Take it way over the top. We're doing our thing.
Heard the call, stepped up to the plate. That's the queen of the town. America's great again.
Did you ever feel so bad inside?
You are moving through MAGA first news with Peter Boykin on MAGA One Radio.
So bad inside.
Thank you for tuning back in with MAGA First News with Peter Boykin on MAGA One Radio. Trump says Las Vegas shooter was a sick and demented man. So President Donald Trump on Tuesday, and let me add that press conference was absolutely the presidential press conference that people have been fussing about so much. And what gets me is somehow still the liberals complained about that press conference. And they were like, oh, why didn't you call it terrorism? It's still terrorism, people. It's domestic terrorism. But we have to find out what's going on. So President Donald Trump on Tuesday called the suspect in the worst mass shooting in modern U.S. history a sick and demented man. He's a sick, demented man, lots of problems, I guess. We're looking into him very, very seriously, Trump said about Stephen Paddock, the suspected gunman, I love how I still say suspected, gunman behind the Las Vegas massacre that left 59 dead and more than 500 injured. We're dealing with a very, very sick individual, Trump added. As he prepared to board his Marine One helicopter as he makes his way to Puerto Rico to see the storm damage. Remember, folks, Donald Trump's been super busy. Very, very busy. I mean, we had the hurricane in Texas. We had the hurricane in Florida. We had the earthquake in Mexico. We got North Korea to deal with. We got Iran starting stuff. Now we have the shooter in Las Vegas. And all the other things going on in the world. Donald Trump's one man. He's doing his best. And then you have Puerto Rico. You've got that lady that sit there with that, oh, help us, we're dying, printed out shirt. Like brand new printed out shirt, yet there's no electricity. With lots of food behind her. Talking about Trump ain't doing enough. When people got to understand that infrastructure there, it's destroyed. I've got friends, I got people who know people in Puerto Rico. There is no infrastructure in Puerto Rico, so it's hard to get what's needed there. But that's a different subject. So Donald Trump says we're dealing with a very, very sick individual, Trump added as he prepared to board a Marine One helicopter as he makes his way to Puerto Rico to see the storm damage. Trump answering shouted questions about whether the attack should prompt stricter gun control laws, added that we'll be talking about gun laws as time goes by. Because we'll always be talking about gun laws. And remember, these same Democrats all talked about gun laws and stuff after Pulse nightclub. But like I agree with Donald Trump. If just a few of those people in that club had some sort of gun or protection in that club, when that shooter at Pulse nightclub entered that club, instead of them hiding in those bathrooms, One of them could have had a gun waiting for that shooter to come in that bathroom and shot that asshole in the head and took him out. Trump said, look, we have a tragedy. What happened in Las Vegas is in many ways a miracle. The police department has done such an incredible job, he said. Trump did not respond to questions on whether the shooting was an act of domestic terrorism. Trump's public comments about the devastating attack was second in many days. On Monday, just hours after Paddock unleashed his rapid-fire barrage of bullets from the 32nd floor of a Las Vegas hotel, Trump, speaking at the White House, called the shooting an act of pure evil. Trump is scheduled to visit Las Vegas on Wednesday. Paddock, 64, of Mesquite, Nevada, fired shots after shots from his room at Mandalay Bay Casino down to the crowd of 22,000, sending terrified concert-goers running for their lives. His attack was met with immediate calls of action to gun control Monday from several Democratic lawmakers, which they always do. They always try to politicize this, and it's not ever good. So, what do y'all think about this situation? It's not good. It's not good at all. But this is MAGA First News with Peter Boykin, and we'll be right back after this.
Thank you. My fellow Americans, we are joined together today in sadness, shock, and grief. Last night, a gunman opened fire on a large crowd at a country music concert in Las Vegas, Nevada. He brutally murdered more than 50 people and wounded hundreds more. It was an act of pure evil. The FBI and the Department of Homeland Security are working closely with local authorities to assist with the investigation, and they will provide updates as to the investigation and how it develops. I want to thank the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and all of the first responders for their courageous efforts and for helping to save the lives of so many. The speed with which they acted is miraculous and prevented further loss of life. To have found the shooter so quickly after the first shots were fired is something for which we will always be thankful and grateful. It shows what true professionalism is all about. Hundreds of our fellow citizens are now mourning the sudden loss of a loved one, a parent, a child, a brother or sister. We cannot fathom their pain. We cannot imagine their loss. To the families of the victims, we are praying for you, and we are here for you. And we ask God to help see you through this very dark period. Scripture teaches us the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. We seek comfort in those words, for we know that God lives in the hearts of those who grieve. To the wounded who are now recovering in hospitals, we are praying for your full and speedy recovery and pledge to you our support from this day forward. In memory of the fallen, I have directed that our great flag be flown at half-staff. I will be visiting Las Vegas on Wednesday to meet with law enforcement, first responders, and the families of the victims. In moments of tragedy and horror, America comes together as one, and it always has. We call upon the bonds that unite us, our faith, our family, and our shared values. We call upon the bonds of citizenship, the ties of community, and the comfort of our common humanity. Our unity cannot be shattered by evil. Our bonds cannot be broken by violence. And though we feel such great anger at the senseless murder of our fellow citizens, it is our love that defines us today and always will, forever. In times such as these, I know we are searching for some kind of meaning in the chaos, some kind of light in the darkness. The answers do not come easy. But we can take solace knowing that even the darkest space can be brightened by a single light, and even the most terrible despair can be illuminated by a single ray of hope. Melania and I are praying for every American who has been hurt, wounded, or lost the ones they love so dearly in this terrible, terrible attack. We pray for the entire nation to find unity and peace, and we pray for the day when evil is banished and the innocent are safe from hatred and from fear. May God bless the souls of the lives that are lost. May God give us the grace of healing, and may God provide the grieving families with strength to carry on. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you.
The sound of automatic gunfire and screams of terror after a gunman opened fire at a crowded country music festival on the Las Vegas Strip Sunday night. Police say at least 50 people are dead and more than 200 injured. The death toll as of Monday making it the worst mass shooting in modern U.S. history.
Everybody thought it was like fireworks or something at first, and then people just started dropping around us, and everybody tried to stay down, and every time like a group would get up to try to run away, they just start shooting again.
Investigators say the gunman fired down on concert goers from the nearby Mandalay Bay Casino Hotel.
Through investigation and response, we determined there was a shooter on the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay. Officers responded to that location and engaged the suspect at that location. He is dead.
The suspect, identified as 62-year-old Stephen Paddock, the Clark County Sheriff, saying multiple firearms were found in the hotel room. They are also searching his residence. Las Vegas police earlier released this photo of a woman they say is a person of interest, Mary Lou Danley. They say they believe she may have information about the gunman. They were also hunting for this Hyundai Tucson registered to the shooter. The FBI are assisting in the investigation. Video on social media shows country music singer Jason Aldean in the middle of a song when he's interrupted by gunfire. Aldean took to Instagram soon after, writing, "Tonight has been beyond horrific. My thoughts and prayers go out to everyone involved tonight."
It is set on the suspect's door. I need everybody in that hallway to be aware of it and get back. We need to pop this and see if we get any type of response from this guy to see if he's in here or if he's actually moved out somewhere else.
Copy. All units on the 32nd floor. SWAT has explosive breach. Everyone in the hallway needs to move back. All units move back.
Breach, breach, breach.
Warning: the following footage contains distressing images and sounds. 59 people have been killed in a mass shooting in Las Vegas. The concert massacre in Las Vegas is the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. More than 500 others were taken to hospitals after a gunman opened fire from the 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Hotel. The gunman who died at the scene was identified as Nevada resident Stephen Paddock, age 64.
What is it?
I know, but I have to stand up. You don't understand. I have to stand up.
We're gonna get trampled if we don't go.
We're gonna get trampled if we don't go. Let's go. We're gonna get trampled.
Come on.
Wait, let's go.
It's fine. It's on the outside, I promise. It's on the outside, honey.
Hey everybody, this is MAGA First News with Peter Boykin. Thanks for tuning back in. So, Las Vegas shooter Stephen Paddock had recent large gambling transactions. The suspected gunman behind the Las Vegas massacre had made several large gambling transactions in the recent weeks, according to multiple senior law enforcement officials and casino executives. On several occasions, Stephen Paddock gambled more than $10,000 per day, and in some cases more than $20,000 and $30,000 a day at Las Vegas casinos, according to the NBC News source who read the suspect's multiple currency transaction reports, CTR, and a casino gaming executive. According to the U.S. statute, a CTR is a treasury. An IRS mandated report that casinos have to file on each transaction in currency involving cash in and cash out of more than $10,000 in a gambling day. It was not immediately clear whether those transactions were losses or wins. Paddock's brothers were stunned to learn on Monday that their sibling was the suspect in the largest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. Eric Paddock of Orlando, Florida, said he had no idea why his 64-year-old brother committed the shooting. Mars just fell into the earth, he said. We're completely dumbfounded. Yes, and I can agree. A lot of us are completely dumbfounded about how this guy did it. What did he do? Why did he do it? Was he able to do it? I mean, there is conspiracy theories running amok, and I'll tell you mine in just a moment. So Eric Paddock said his brother was retired and was just a guy who stayed at hotels, gambled, and went to shows. Their brother Bruce Paddock, who lives in California, said his family grew up in Sun Valley, California. Their father, Benjamin Paddock, was on the FBI's top 10 wanted list in the 1970s. For robbing banks and was described as a psychopath and an arrest warrant. So the acorn doesn't fall too far from the nut farm tree? According to the warrant, the suspect's father carried a firearm and was considered armed and dangerous. It listed his nicknames as Big Daddy, Chrome Dome, and Old Baldy. In 1960, the Arizona Republic described Benjamin Paddock as a 3-time bank robber who was accused of stealing about $25,000. He was arrested in Las Vegas and indicted on accounts of robbing Phoenix branches on the Valley National Bank, an Archive Media article said. So we're getting to the point of maybe why he did this in Las Vegas. Maybe he blamed, maybe the guy blamed what happened to his father on Vegas, and this was the way to take out Vegas. We don't know. The elder Paddock was sentenced to prison in Texas for the robberies. But 6 months after his sentencing, he escaped and robbed a bank in San Francisco before being recaptured in Oregon. The Eugene Register Guard reported in 1978 he had lived in Oregon for several years, evading capture by changing his name and appearance until his arrest, according to the paper. Bruce, who said he hadn't talked about Stephen in about 10 years, said his brother made money through apartment buildings which he owned and managed with his mother, who lives in Florida. I don't know how he could stoop to this low point, hurting someone else, Bruce said. He added that his brother, who lived in Mesquite, Nevada, about 80 miles northeast of Las Vegas, was a laid-back, never-in-a-hurry type of guy. Bruce said his brother was a law-abiding citizen who never did anything violent prior to the shooting. At least, not on paper, right? Martin J. Kravitz was the lead attorney for Cosmopolitan Hotels when Paddock sued the facility over a slip and fall in 2012. He was really kind of bizarre. He dressed slovenly to the disposition, which is probably the reason why they got that picture where he looks like a mess. Kravitz said he was kind of a personality that's slovenly and careless. Kravitz said that Paddock did not seem angry and was not the kind of person who would have stood out. At least 59 people were killed when Paddock opened fire into a crowd of approximately 22,000 at an outdoor country music festival from the 32nd floor of the Las Vegas Mandalay Bay and the casino on Sunday night. Police said at least 527 other people were wounded. That's a lot. The shooting is not believed to be continued to international terrorism, they say, according to authorities. The suspect was a licensed pilot who owned 2 planes. He was also at times obtained fishing licenses from Alaska. It was believed he lived in a retirement community in Mesquite. Public records show that Stephen Paddock lived a relatively transient life, having 27 different residences in California, Texas, and Nevada. From 1985 to 1988, he worked for a predecessor company of Lockheed Martin as an internal auditor, public records show. We're cooperating with authorities to answer questions they may have had about Mr. Paddock and his time with the company, Lockheed Martin said in a statement. Now, there's a correction that said an earlier version of the article misstated the type of license he obtained in Alaska. He bought a 3-day fishing license once in 2009 and again in 2010, not a hunting license, according to officials of the State Department of Hunting and Game. So, let me tell you, there's some mystery over there. He apparently is not violent, but he became violent. If his father was a psychopath, so we kind of see that might have came. When people are older, he's like 65 years old. Now, it might have been a little bit early on him, but he could have become a little bit deranged. He could have been coming through Alzheimer's. Who knows? But it took a lot of planning and a lot of action to do what he did. Now, there's a lot of there is a lot of conspiracy theories going around. One thing is, how can a 65-year-old man carry, 20-something guns? past all these people. I know they did check, but I mean, wouldn't something seem strange that these guys carrying suitcase after suitcase after suitcase? I know that the security of hotels look into people, and I think they would find something odd. The janitors and stuff, they didn't see anything odd. I just don't see how a 65-year-old, I just don't see how a 65-year-old man was able to smash out 2 windows. They say it's 1 apartment. I don't know. 2, that's a big, he must have got a high roller or something. Which he probably got that room for comped. Yeah, they could do a luggage cart, but at the same time, he's going to smash out 2 windows. Which, for one, I think that the hotels need to automatically have sensors on these windows to tell that there's been a smashing. If they had done that, alarms could have went off. There's a lot of infrastructure issues that could have been done. They did say on the news that there was absolutely no way to be prepared for this. And I'm like, well, probably because if you had bulletproof glass, if you had sensors on the windows, I mean, did anybody see any glass smashing on the street when it happened? I mean, there's got to be something. How did this 65-year-old man do all this by himself? There's a lot of accounts where people say they heard multiple gunshots. We don't know. We also had a terrorist group already try to say and take claim of it, which they don't usually take claim of things unless they are really involved in it. You've got some people saying that he was part of Antifa and had Antifa stuff on his computers. There's the image I shared earlier about him having one of those basically pussy hats on his head, and he had a pink NASA shirt. We don't know if that was him or not. Maybe he's an anti-Trumper. Maybe he's been indoctrinated by the liberal left. Maybe he went nuts and was shooting at country music singers. Maybe he found out my friend Kaya Jones was there. And Big Rich and stuff. We don't know. I don't understand exactly how it happened. But truly, it just doesn't look like he was in health to do that by himself. Now, people would say, well, they got cameras and they have things in the hotel. And they're trying to say right away there's no terrorist ties. But the problem is, well, you also have to understand they're not going to disclose everything that's going on. And I doubt that his little Asian lady, she looked kind of frail too, did it. They're not going to disclose everything. I think there's more to the story, folks. I really think there's more to the story. And I hate to comment early because I come conspiracy theory and I don't want to talk fake news. But this is the opinion part of my commentary. It's very possible if he was involved or not involved. He could have been the pansy. He could have been brought into this. If they have cameras, they'll see if more people went into the room or not. If terrorists were involved, we'll find out. They're not going to tell us right away because they're probably trying to find the suspect. Well, I do understand though that this guy could have been strong. It's just kind of weird to see that this man possibly could have done it all on his own. I just don't know. But we're going to find out eventually. And I think it's a great news, if they have found out that there's more than one person, it's probably good to not announce that they found out it's more than one person, because let the police do their work, let the FBI do their work, let us think it's one person for now, while they go after the larger sale. Now, if they don't want to admit it's a larger sale and just basically put it on this guy, then that's a possibility. I think people are going to be talking about this case and this thing for a long time now. It was only Monday, it's a long week to go. Now, unfortunately, the Democrats already have jumped on the gun control and the rules and all the lies, and stuff. So, I'm sorry. We don't need more gun control. In Chicago and other places like that where they got supreme gun control, guess what? That didn't help them. We've got, London and stuff where they got almost nobody has guns. Their homicide rate went up like 300% because the people who ended up with the guns are the bad guys. That's who ended up with the guns. So, really, we can't take away guns from people. Now, I might agree a little bit with Hillary. She said something about silencers. I don't believe regular Joe should be able to go around and get silencers. I don't believe regular Joe should be able to go around and get assault rifles and stuff that can shoot out lots of bullets in a really quick, manner. Guns are supposed to be for your personal protection, not for a military action. And they're also supposed to be for hunting. So, I think the limits that they have on guns are good now. I don't think they need to be expanding to giving, one-man military. Because we've already seen what happened. We've already seen what happened. One person in this world could do so much damage. I mean, look at Hitler. Look at Stalin. Look at Fidel. Look at Osama bin Laden. Look at Saddam Hussein. Look at Kim Jong-un. One man in this world, or one woman in this world, could do so much damage. But one man or one woman can do so much greatness. And that's why we got Donald Trump. He's going to do great. But at the end of the day, folks, we have to figure out what's going on. What happened? Why? Hillary, what happened? This is MAGA First News with Peter Boykin. And let's pray for the victims, the families, and everybody involved with this. And this is MAGA First News with Peter Boykin. We'll be right back.
There are no words to describe the evil and delusion someone has to have to commit such a heinous act like the event that occurred last night in my hometown, Las Vegas, Nevada. But one thing is for certain. Vegas is still here. We are still standing strong, and through the darkness, our lights are still shining bright. In our country, evil will not overshadow our liberty. Evil won't overshadow our freedoms, and evil will in no capacity overshadow our faith in God. This event is not something to politicize, but a call for all of us to unite and call out all forms of hate. I send my deepest condolences to everyone who was affected by the massacre in Las Vegas last night. And I leave you with a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that.
Las Vegas in respect turned off the lights of the Strip to honor the dead. At this time, let's take a moment of silence as well as we pause and pray for their souls and the family and victims of this horrible tragedy.
Tomorrow all the things were gone I've worked for all my life, and I had to start again with my dogs and my husband. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, well, there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died that gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Maka One Radio, Maka One Radio, Maka One Radio, Maka One Radio.
It's like you think it's except that it came in, all 5 of my phones in the house and the cells and everything lit up at the same time. I'd have thought it was one of my friends joking. What? I mean, when you get a phone call that says your brother, just killed a bunch of people. So, this is not. So, we're going to hope you people stay at least on the sidewalk. We're answering the phone and talking to random people, but we're telling them we're going to put out a 5-line statement that says what I've just told you, that we're shocked, horrified, completely dumbfounded about this. We didn't have power for 5 days. He called her up to talk to her about how it was. He sent her a walker because she's having trouble walking now. There's just nothing. If there was anything I could have done, I would have done it.
What's the AR?
why she was saying that? I mean, was this after the shots were fired, or? It was about 45 minutes before where the shots were actually fired, but then she was escorted out by security.
How does that make you feel? I mean,
it makes me feel uncomfortable, especially coming here for my 21st birthday and not knowing if I'm safe, not even knowing if I'm safe going home tomorrow on an airplane. So, are you really a neighbor of this maniac?
I was, yes, sir. And I'm no longer in Mesquite anymore. I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but I was his neighbor for about 7-8 months in Mesquite. And I can tell you 100% that this is not that kind of guy. I was there working and seen him probably every other day on my way home. He used to sit with his garage open and sit out there in his driveway with his lawn chair right at the edge of the garage and the driveway. And he would wave all the time when I was going by. Really nice guy. There's a little bar around the corner where they have poker vending machines where you sit at the bar, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You go down there all the time and sit there and drink a few beers and have a few drinks and play that little vending slot machine with the video.
Well, Rick, you're talking about a man who has just committed the greatest mass murder in American history, and you're making him sound like an ordinary guy who wasn't violent, didn't have any Nazi flags in the garage, didn't seem crazy to you. Are you sure it was him?
I'm 100% positive. I'm 100% positive. I know exactly who the guy is. I was in the Marine Corps, and I've talked to this guy personally. We drank beer together, not just in passing, kind of sitting there playing games together. I had another guy work for me. His name was Steve, and we used to go to that same bar after work and have a few drinks and play video poker as well. And he would sit there too, and we would just talk about nonsense stuff. And I told him that I was in the Marine Corps, that talked about guns and all kinds of stuff. He never even told me that he owned a gun.
Did he express any political opinions to you in those discussions?
No, sir. No, sir. Not a thing.
But going back to your main point, Rick, and I need to confirm this. I'm just going to take you on your word, because what you just said has not been heard on any network. It's going to be picked up and played elsewhere. I know that. And, thanks to the Savage Nation. You are a man who is a former neighbor of this shooter, and you say he was an average Joe, never expressed any political opinions, no religious affiliation. Is that true?
That's 100% true. Yes, sir.
Wow.
I've already talked to the Clark County Sheriff's Department this morning. Called them and told them everything I know and everything that was said between me and the guy. Now this was spring. I was there in December of 2015 all the way until June of 2016. I was his neighbor for that entire time.
In Mesquite?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Unbelievable.
Multiple times. I've spoke with him multiple times. I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, but it don't sit right. I know this guy. I've drank beer with this guy.
All right, so, okay, you're not a conspiracy theorist. Ordinary guy, doesn't snap. Something's wrong with the picture. Clean skin. Was he brainwashed?
I don't think so. He was too smart of a guy to be brainwashed, I think. That's
all right. So wait, you don't go for conspiracy. He wasn't brainwashed. So what is your instinct telling you as a man who's been in combat? Obviously, you have a very, very heightened sense of reality. What is your instinct telling you?
It's a setup. I know that sounds weird, but it's got to be a setup. What more? How does?
Wow. Wait a minute. Hold on. I understand what you're saying. That's the body they found in the room, but he may not have been the shooter.
Exactly. I mean, how many movies have you seen with that exact same plot? I mean,
oh my God.
How does it describe multiple people running through the crowd? What, 2 people running through the crowd saying you're all going to die?
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, it's some average Joe guy who was an accountant who spent his days gambling at the video poker machine around the corner from his house drinking beer. All
right, so if you were writing the mystery novel, there are far more nefarious players involved. They did the shooting. They broke into his room and killed him and made him look like the shooter by laying guns in the room?
Absolutely. And he had been there since the 28th of September.
Yeah.
And then finally, on the last day of the last show of the concert, he starts shooting people. I mean, it doesn't add up. Why didn't he shoot people a long time ago? What did he do? Go out and enjoy his weekend and then decide he was going to kill people? Like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up to me, especially not this guy.
Not this guy. So you're confirming in your mind a conspiracy theory in your mind. We call it that. Call it what you want. That's the person they found in the room, but we don't know if he was the shooter, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm taking it as. I mean, prove to me he was the shooter. Show me the ballistics on his hands from him shooting and on his clothes from him shooting all these shots. On top of that, watch the videos. AK-47, watch any video from when we were in Afghanistan, and the end of an AK-47 in the middle of the night lights up like a Christmas light with a flash. There's nothing coming out of that room.
Wait, there were no flashes coming out of the windows of the Mandalay?
Watch the videos. I've watched them on Twitter and on YouTube 100 times, and they're looking at the Mandalay Bay and a lot of these cell phones that people are holding, and you don't see a flash one coming out of that room.
Well, did he have a flash suppressor on the end of his weapon?
You wouldn't. I mean, there's still. I mean, you're 30 stories up in the middle of the night. You're going to see something. I mean,
but why would he? And anyway, why would he need a flash suppressor if he was just randomly shooting into a crowd?
He was gonna,
what's that for? Whoever was doing it knew that they would be caught eventually. But you're saying he didn't even do it.
I mean, I'm not going to say he didn't do it, but it's just hard to believe. It's really hard to believe knowing the guy.
All right, I want to repeat what we've been talking about because I'm going to play this sound again tomorrow. Jim, we got to grab this. This caller, Rick, from KBET in Las Vegas, says he used to live next to the alleged shooter. He doesn't believe this alleged shooter did it for the reasons he described. And he's not given to conspiracy theories, but he thinks the whole thing was a setup and there are other individuals involved. Does that accurately depict what you are saying, Rick?
Yes, for the most part. I mean, it sounds harsh coming off like that because it makes me sound like a like a weirdo, but there's too much involved knowing the guy personally. So
All right, weirdo. Don't worry about it, weirdo. This country takes weirdos to figure things out, but you're not a weirdo. You're an American patriot who's actually faced bullets flying at him from an AK-47.
Did you ever feel so bad inside? You are doomed into MAGA first news with Peter Boykin on MAGA One
Thanks for tuning in. Back with MAGA First News with Peter Boykin, and we're continuing to talk about the Las Vegas shooting. So the Las Vegas shooting, 59 killed and more than 500 are hurt near Mandalay Bay. It says concert goers flee the Route 91 Harvest Country Music Festival in Las Vegas on Sunday. A lone gunman unleashed a rapid-fire barrage of bullets from the 32nd floor of a Las Vegas hotel late Sunday. It was the last act, too, and people thought it was fireworks. That's what's sad about it. Lone gunman unleashed a rapid-fire barrage of bullets from the 32nd floor of a Las Vegas hotel late Sunday, killing at least 59 people and injuring more than 500 others attending a country music festival below, officials said. It was the worst mass shooting in modern history. And Stephen Craig Paddock was solely responsible for this heinous act, Assistant Clark County Sheriff Todd Feliso told reporters Monday night. Paddock, 64, of Mesquite, Nevada, fired shots after shots from his room at Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino down on the crowd of about 22,000, sending terrified concert goers running for their lives. And there was a lot of drunk concert goers, and sadly, a lot of people were having fun one minute, enjoying life, and then within seconds, life was ending. And that, sadly, folks, is how sometimes life ends. I don't know if y'all noticed the press conference from Sarah Huckabee. She was choked up reading statements and was about to cry before they went to the press conference. And that got me choked up most of all, seeing that. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. I watched it over and over again. I gave it a day before I did a show on it because there was so much stuff going on. So Paddock, 64, of Mesquite, Nevada, fired shot after shot from his room in Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino down on the crowd of 22,000, sending terrified concert goers running for their lives. We heard what sounded like firecrackers going off. Then all of a sudden we heard what sounded like a machine gun. There was actually accounts where people they didn't know what was going on, and there was people actually turning around, standing up, and flipping off the shooter in whatever direction because they didn't know what was going on. And I don't know how many people were drunk, because it's a festival, people drank, that didn't really know what to do. And it's sad. We heard what sounded like fireworks going off, or firecrackers going off. Then all of a sudden we heard what sounded like a machine gun. People started screaming and they were hit. Witness Megan Kearney told MSNBC. When we started running out, there was probably a couple of hundred people on the ground. She added, people kept dropping and dropping. People were getting shot 1 foot away from us. Which I'm actually wondering, and I know it's a little morbid, but I'm wondering if anybody had any video of people getting shot or any accounts of that, because I haven't seen any of that at this point. People were trying to save their friends. There were gunshots everywhere. Helping them would have meant that we got shot too. And it becomes a fight or flight situation. Sometimes you have to get the hell out of there. I know some people want to help. And sadly you want to help. But it's grab your friends, your family, your loved life, and get the hell out of there. It seems to be sometimes every man for themselves. I know there's a lot of military people. There's a lot of police who helped risk their lives. There's the man who jumped on top of his wife and got shot in the back and killed, saved her life. It's tragic, folks. So the latest, 59 people were killed and at least 527 others were injured in the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. And remember, folks, this is modern U.S. history. This kind of stuff and more happens across the world, especially in Europe, by real terrorists, or massive bombings and massive killings. And hell, you'll have more people dying in a stampede in India due to a festival or whatever. But this is bad. We cannot let this become an everyday thing in America, because that's what makes America great. And we have to make America great and make America great again by making sure this kind of stuff is taken care of. That means infrastructure, building a wall, and other things. We have to do the right thing for this. Authorities identified the gunman as Stephen Craig Paddock, 64, of Mesquite, Nevada. They said he acted alone. At least for now, we see, right? Investigators found 23 firearms in Paddock's room on Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino and 19 more at his home. President Donald Trump, who will visit Las Vegas on Wednesday, called the shooting an act of pure evil. Police responded to reports of the shooting just after 10 p.m. or 1 a.m. Eastern Time. Clark County Sheriff Joseph Lombardo told reporters Monday that authorities believe Paddock killed himself before police entered his room. It said earlier that police fatally shot Paddock. Authorities were digging into Paddock's history, other than a citation he received several years ago that was handled by as a normal practice by the courts. This is Peter Boykin with MAGA First Radio. We'll tune right back in with more news after this.
Las Vegas shooting. What we know so far. Gunman Stephen Paddock opened fire at the Route 91 Harvest Festival. At least 59 were killed and 527 were injured. Paddock fired from the 32nd floor of Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino. SWAT teams who stormed the gunman's hotel room found he had killed himself. Theresa May, the Prime Minister of England, said, "I have just spoken to President Trump to pass on my condolences and that of the whole country." Officers discovered 23 firearms in the 64-year-old's room. One off-duty police officer was killed in the attack. The shooting is the deadliest gun massacre in modern U.S. history. The Islamic State group claimed responsibility for the attack. FBI says no connection with an international terrorist group. The killer's brother Eric Paddock said he was dumbfounded by the shooting, and he said there's exactly no logic, no reach even for me, why my brother would have done this. Police say they believe Paddock was a lone wolf. U.S. President Donald Trump plans to visit Las Vegas on October 4th. What else do we know? There are many questions as to why, and some on how. Lots of conspiracy theories, including he was involved in Antifa, there may have been more shooters involved, he was a patsy, or he is a false flag. One thing is for sure, until all evidence is uncovered and shown to the public, all cards are on the table.
Holy f***, this girl just got shot in the head. It's so f***ing crazy. So I had to go grab a gun. I'm f***ing headed back. F***ing so crazy. Some kind of mass shooting. F***ing guy had a heavy caliber weapon for sure. Saw a girl f***ing get shot in the face right next to me. Her brain's f***ing hanging out. Stupid ass me didn't bring. They got one of the guys. I'm headed back. I don't think there's much I can do. So headed home. For all you people texting and calling and everything, I'm fine. Pretty fucked up night.
He's gone.
Everybody has officially booked it, or they are on the ground. Security is out. Just got real, kid.
It's on the outside, I promise. It's on the outside, honey.
not real nice. What is it?
I don't know.
I know, but I have to stay on top of you. You don't understand that I have to stay on top of you.
We're gonna get trampled if we don't go.
We're gonna get trampled if we don't go. Let's go. We're gonna get trampled. Oh my God. Let's go.
It's fireworks. It's fireworks. Stop. It's fireworks.
Democrats obstructing, the media attacking our president, career politicians standing in the way of success. But President Trump's plan is working. 1 million jobs created. More Americans working than ever before. Unemployment lowest since 2001. The stock market, all-time record highs. The strongest military in decades. The president's enemies don't want him to succeed. But Americans are saying, let President Trump do his job.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
What do you think, people? Put your opinion in the quotes. Retweet this. Join me on MAGA First News with Peter Boykin on MAGA 1 Radio. You can join me at noon and at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. MAGA1Radio.net. This is Peter Boykin from MAGA First News. Signing out. Talk to you later. MAGA, everybody. God bless.